are back at the DigitalBlog studio today with Linda Hoffmann. Mrs. Hoffmann is a senior business development manager at Shopify. Welcome to our studio, Ms. Hoffmann.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be with you.
Ms. Hoffmann, what made you interested in technology and AI in the first place?
It is such a good question. And I had to think back, and it was actually 2 years into my career. And I was going in, always reading about future trends and what's happening. And you can't get away with not getting into technology when it comes to how we shape our everyday lives and how also society shapes the organization of society and economy, right? So I think what happened is that I developed an intrinsic interest in technology as shaping the future. And technology is a tool, right? You can use it for good, you can use it for bad. And I was more interested in how you can use technology optimistically to change things that maybe are difficult now and to bring down the hurdles through technology to give people access to more, for example, independence. And by that, I got the career opportunities followed that interest, came to me basically, and the doors opened. So that's my journey. That's how I've seen it happen in my life, and which then has brought me to Shopify, where I work now, as you mentioned, as a senior business development manager. And Shopify's mission is to make commerce better for everyone by building a commerce platform that enables anyone, anywhere, to start, grow, and scale their business. And which I think is just a great example of how you can use innovation and technology to break down hurdles and to enable people to go for independence in this case, so business ownership. And I think that's really part of how my passion and my interest in technology has connected and really manifested in my career.
Could you explain what the responsibilities of a business development manager are and how you can contribute to advancing innovations in your company?
Absolutely. So me, part of the business development team at Shopify, we are tasked with driving experiments and projects and partnerships that go beyond and that expand the way that Shopify does business today to have this future-minded aspect. And that it can, I want to highlight two different aspects in this case. One is that we're working on expanding into new markets. So partnerships, but also looking at product market gaps when it comes to how do business owners or what do they need to set up a retail business in Germany is very different than the US or Canada, where the company was founded, or in France, or look at India. Now I'm responsible for Germany and for cross-European partnerships, and highlighting that and bringing that to the surface, not only for the merchants in the country to do their business and come up with thriving businesses, but also to bring those learnings and the way that things are done differently back into the company to see how we might get those into the system and into the platform and work them into the platform to make commerce better for everyone, everywhere, basically. So that's one aspect to it. And then the other aspect is to drive new business models, and it's interlinked there as well through partnerships in the different regions. And that can then drive, because commerce is something that's always changing, right? We see more and more the merging of offline and online. And Shopify usually, or used to be an e-commerce company, platform. And then we incorporated more and more because we saw the merchant needs and the consumer behavior, and we wanted to expand that. So we incorporated the POS, the offline channel, and then also other new ways of placing your products in the digital world. So marketplaces, and those are partnerships, and that would be something that I would also be responsible for driving, or with social media channels. And these are always evolving, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There's always new developments that come. And this is also another way that me and my team, that we bring innovation into the company and help push the boundaries of how things are done.
Previous to this role at Shopify, You also have a strong record of leadership positions, including project management and communication management. Did you experience certain challenges throughout your career, especially as a woman in the tech sector and in a leadership position?
That's also a very, very good question. And I guess, like, as human beings, we're always seeing things or challenges as opportunities to grow and that we need to go through. When it comes to this, I think one thing I want to highlight is negotiation, and really the skill of negotiation and the skill of not only in a business setting, like if you're in sales or in business development and in partnerships, this is a great skill to go into, but also for yourself as a woman in your career and when you are in the hiring process. And I remember my first time I negotiated, and I had got some tips from a friend, and I implemented those. It was the first time that I actually really negotiated my salary, and to my very surprise, I got what I had negotiated for very boldly. And I think this is something where which is great to learn, where we women also can get stronger, and that I then have been able to build on moving forward in my career and in my conversations, and to speak up. And this is the second point, which is also tied to it, but in general, to speak up in situations. So when there's projects going on, when there's decisions being made, and this is especially important. And I look back at one period of the time where I was the only woman leading on in a leadership team of 24 in total. So that was not always easy to then have the courage and to be like, actually, I have a point to make. This is something I need to raise my voice and bring it to the table. And I'm really happy that even in those situations, you do learn to speak up. And it's something that you continuously, I think we as women, or at least myself, I do need to do and need to remind and practice. So these are two concrete challenges that I have been able to tackle.
As you already mentioned, sometimes you were the only woman at the table. Why do you think women in tech are still underrepresented, and what would you change to develop the industry towards more gender equality?
This is also such a good question. I think, of course, it starts, or one thing I would bring to the forefront is those entrenched perceptions of what the tech industry is, that we maybe grow up with, or that's when we're small, when we're in school, or even like in the parents in the household, and we're growing up, and you see pictures portrayed of the technology industry as maybe not for women. So and then women themselves, or the girls, don't perceive this as an opportunity to go for, or even like sometimes you would think, tech and maths and science, but even curiosity and technology as such is nothing that women would be good for, and then they opt for other ways. So way forward here is from an education point of view, from different, wherever there's the image of the tech industry, to represent it as it is, like really and very interesting, and a very future-minded and forward-facing and exciting, fast-moving, fast-paced environment where you can have very multiple pathways of careers and ways to be a part of driving change in society. And I think if we can change those perceptions and work on that in all the different stages of where women go through in their lives, this is something that can help. And then the second point, which is tied to it, and it's what I mentioned before, being then the only woman in the room, I think the lack of visibility of female role models in tech industry is something that we need to change. And I love that this blog is doing exactly that, really championing the female voices and the female role models that are doing a great job, that are changing and spearheading the industry and moving forward. And by that, others will be encouraged. And I've seen it in my own life. I'm very thankful to have strong women and to look up to in the tech industry, in my network, and it's really inspiring, and it's something that will also change a lot, this fact of underrepresentation, I believe. And then the third point is female foundership. to encourage more females to actually become independent business owners and to start their own business in the tech industry, but also anywhere else. Because this is where they then break the cycle and they become the boss as well. So I think there's a lot that can be done there to encourage entrepreneurship among women. And there's networks that can be founded, that are founded. There's really, really strong networks already. There's funding that can go into that from the government angles and really, again, zooming in and empowering those female entrepreneurship. That's one strong point I believe in. And it's really an interesting point that Shopify, if you see Shopify as a platform, right? We empower 1.7 million businesses at the moment on a global base. And our last merchant survey surfaced that 54% self-identify as females. So we've got those 54% of women leading their businesses, running their e-commerce or commerce business on Shopify. And I think it's a great example to see just women using technology to become independent and to become their own boss and their own have their own business. And I can think of so many great examples, that from the German network. But so Janet Carstens, and she founded like a game changer. It's a gaming chair made in Germany. First one, she was like, actually, I want to become my own boss. Let's start this. And she went on this journey. She's having a thriving business. Or then there's Alisa Janke, who co-founded Purelay, which is now like this super thriving jewelry brand. Or there's Jennifer Baum-Minkus from Gitti, who's got her own nail polish brand on the platform. So there's so many inspiring female entrepreneurs on Shopify, directly also here in Germany and in Europe, but also worldwide. And I think that's also really inspiring to see.
Communication seems to be an important topic in your life, not only in the management context. Is it true that you speak 9 languages? Danish, English, French, German, Maori, Norwegian, Spanish, Swahili, and Swedish. How did you manage to learn that many languages? And has it helped you in finding connections and partnerships throughout your career?
Yes, I mean, the language factor is definitely one of my passions in life. Because it unlocks opportunities to connect to people, and not only to people, but to cultures. Because language is so much more than just communication in that sense, but there's cultural concepts that you get conveyed through the language, and there's relationships built. But I have to say, I was really privileged to grow up in a bilingual household. So my mom's Swedish, my dad's German. So my mom only spoke Swedish to me up to this day. When I have her on the phone, it's directly Swedish, and my dad German. Then I grew up partly in Tanzania and went to an international school. So that's where the English and the Swahili comes in a bit. So I'm not super fluent in all of them, but even having access to some of them, so Swedish, then you get the access to Danish and Norwegian to be able to communicate and understand. And so that's been my story. And yes, of course, it is also reflected in my career so far, because I do thrive in international environments where there's different languages, there's people from very different backgrounds, there's partnerships to be made with different stakeholders and different companies and different cultures and languages. So for sure, this language aspect and the passion for it has definitely helped open doors and forge relationships in a career environment as well.
To end our interview, I want to ask if you also have a tip for our viewers, especially for female students in the tech sector, on how to improve their leadership skills. Again,
such a great question. So I would have 2 interlinked tips for anyone listening and interested here. So I think from a first point, it's really to see the big picture. I would encourage you to see the big picture of what the tech industry and the future-mindedness that it comes with it, and the responsibility and also the excitement of shaping the future. And then I would ask myself, what is it that you uniquely have to bring from a skill set point of view, from a character point of view, from a voice and a perspective that you bring to the table that you can actually have an impact with in this environment, and then to hold on to that and lead from that point, from that point of really knowing that, because then you'll be able to lead with a vision versus managing people. Like that is management is always task oriented, but leadership is to have a vision, to be so passionate about what you're doing and why you're doing it for yourself as well, that you'll be able to rally people around that vision and lead and have an impact in that way. And then the second point is intertwined with that, is that you make a commitment to always have a growth mindset, because technology, as we know, there's always different changes coming in. One technology can wipe away all of the technologies of the last decades. Things happen so quickly. And the moment that you say, I've arrived, I've settled, that's the moment that you are being left behind. So really that commitment to learn and to follow the trends and to never settle, I think that's really important. And one book, I don't know if maybe this is also something that you already know, but one book that really helped me and was a game changer and that I can recommend is The Growth Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University. And it really nails down that you can choose to have a growth mindset or you can choose to have a fixed mindset. And if you choose to have a growth mindset, this will really help you to never stop growing and learning, and even as a leader, and lead your team into the future.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffmann, for sharing your tips and insights with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing this as well.